Is Denis Gurianov the right return for the Montreal Canadiens? Let's look at the pros and cons of the trade. In the past week, we have seen some miraculous moves happening around the NHL, and compared to a bunch of the creative and, frankly, sometimes convoluted trades that we've seen happen, the Dadanov-for-Gurianov one-for-one trade is probably one of the most simple that has crossed the transaction board in the past week. Evgenii Dadnov was likely to be the guy who would get moved, and sure enough, that's what happened on Sunday. Today, I'm going to take you through 3 pros and 3 cons of this trade, and we'll talk about overall the grade on this one. Let's start with the positives. Here are some of the pros of this trade. Number 1, Denis Gurianov is a former first-round pick. He was taken 12th overall by Dallas back in 2015. That was at the draft in Florida. And so any time that you can get a first-rounder back in a return is obviously going to have some upside to it. Secondly, why was he taken so high in the first round? Why did he have so much upside to him? Well, according to a scouting report on elite prospects from Curtis Joe back in 2014, Gurianov at the time, quote, was a highly skilled forward who intimidates with his speed and proficient puck handling ability. Denis Gurianov may have one of the highest ceilings as a forward prospect for the 2015 NHL entry draft, very strong in his skates, and uses his size to protect the puck well. Drives the net hard and knows where he will shoot before he is even in a position to do so. Possesses a heavy and accurate release on his shot, which he likes to get off near the face-off dots. If he can't shoot from there, he'll either dangle or bull his way through to the blue paint. While he is proactive and aware defensively, he still needs to work on consistency in his own end. All in all, a dynamic offensive threat that has room to grow defensively. That's a pretty decent scouting report and likely the reason that Dallas took him 12th overall. Third, when you're looking for a positive, compared to Dadanov, this is a prospect that should have, as that scouting report just said, a higher ceiling. There's more potential for breakout, for growth. And after he first went pro, a few seasons in the AHL with the Texas Stars and a couple of seasons now in the NHL with the Dallas Stars, and on average in those seasons, roughly about 30 points per season, which is pretty decent. However, one of my favorite phrases is temper your expectations. Getting a player who was a 12th overall first round selection, who came with a pretty good pedigree as far as his scouting report and has had some success, doesn't mean that that's immediately going to translate when he comes to Montreal. I found it interesting that he was immediately given the first line in his debut game. And sure, there was plenty of energy around the team, and for him in his first few shifts had some pretty decent looks on net. That kind of always comes with a change in scenery. It's the same thing that happens with coaches who come in new to the team. Dadanov himself played his first game in Dallas on Monday night. He scored a goal that night. Let's wait until things kind of settle down and look to see where he's actually going to play in the lineup before we make a full assessment as to whether or not this is going to be a beneficial move for the Montreal Canadiens, because he's not going to stay at the first line. He's not going to be a first line winger. And why do I say that? Well, that moves us to the 3 cons that I'm going to bring to you, because we have to be objective. We have to look at all angles of these things. And first and foremost, he just hasn't met expectations. He had some seasons in the AHL and in the NHL where he was accruing 30 points a season. This season has not been the same. He has 9 points on the season so far. He has 2 goals and 7 assists in his 40 some odd games played. He's been a healthy scratch at times. And so for a player like that who is suddenly not having a good season, he's not had the growth that scouting report from 2014 anticipated and projected that he would have in the NHL. He just hasn't done that. He's maybe a decent third line winger, perhaps, that could maybe grow maybe into a second line winger, but then you have to look at where is that going to fit in the Montreal Canadiens lineup. That also leads me into the second con for this trade, and that was the one negative thing that scouting report mentioned, and that was his defensive abilities. He's known for being a good skater, having a good shot, but it is known that defensively he's a bit more of a liability and that his hockey IQ isn't necessarily as good as it could be. Hockey IQ is not something you can teach. How to be better in the defensive game in your own zone? Yes, you can teach that. But he's had a few years in the NHL and he has not progressed in that aspect of his game. And so that's going to be a big question mark as to whether or not he's going to be more defensively as a liability for the team, or if he can finally actually start to make some progress forward in that area. As our editor-in-chief, Rick Stevens, pointed out this week as well, you always have to be looking at what does this mean for the lineup in terms of homegrown prospects, of prospects that you've got coming through the system in Laval, in Europe, in the NCAA, and what is this going to do for your lineup moving forward? Gurianov is an RFA this summer, making $2.9 million right now. The rumblings from the media in Dallas this week have been that the Stars had a good chance of maybe choosing to not qualify Gurianov this summer. And so now Kent Hughes has traded for him. You're absolutely going to qualify him. So that means he's going to be on your roster in the fall. Who is going to lose a position because of that? Is it going to be someone that you wouldn't mind losing anyway? Or is it going to be a younger prospect who is going to lose an opportunity? And you're going to have to pay him. I mean, $2.9 million is what he's making right now. So what's his new contract going to be? So due to those things, yes, he could be an exciting prospect. A 12th overall pick is pretty exciting to bring to the team for Evgenii Dadnov. And managing to get a trade done in what is looking like a complete bleak desert for trading for the Montreal Canadiens this season, now that all of these injuries have occurred. So successfully getting a trade done. I like the trade. I'm not liking so much the money you're going to pay and the big question mark around the project that this guy's going to be, and really not knowing if he's going to work out or not. So because of those things, my overall grade for this trade is a B-. If the Canadiens were able to be more active at the trade deadline, this trade grade would probably drop to a C, just because of the unpredictability of it. But I will give Kent Hughes a B- on this one, and we'll see what else he can do. My feedback forum question for you this week is, what's your grade on the trade? How do you feel about it? Do you like the return that Kent Hughes got for Evgenii Dadnov? Hey, if you're liking our videos, whether this is the first time you've been here or you come back week after week, do me a favor and tap that subscribe button down below, hit the like button, the notification bell, and make sure you share this episode with all of your friends on your favorite social media platform. Will we have more Habs trades to talk about when we come back next week? Well, last week I gave kind of my forecast on what I believe the Montreal Canadiens trade deadline was going to look like and what could cause some drama around that. You can listen to what I had to say about it in this video right here. So check that out and meet me back here again next week.